Hallelujah. If you be my bodyguard, I can be
Found the sound 98.9 Win FM.
Buildings damaged by an earthquake are dangerous. This is not the time for sightseeing. You could be in personal danger and your presence could hamper emergency responses. Also, stay away from areas prone to landslides, low-lying coastal areas, lakes and streams that lead to the ocean. Do not head for the coast until local authorities tell you that the danger of a tsunami has passed. Curiosity can kill.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WINNFM.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
price matters most.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
St. Kitts and Nevis listens to
Win FM 98.9.
Win FM 98.9.
Good morning to everyone listening to Win FM, whether you are listening via radio at your home while you're driving, whether you're looking at Win FM and listening via the social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Pleasant morning. This morning, I am your host, Azard Gumbs. I like to say I'm an attorney at law by profession and a human by nature. And with me this morning is also Jamster. Sharon is off today, and so she will not be on air. And so we have myself and Jamster who will be here. And we're here encouraging you this morning, as always, to have a positive day. I wish to share the morning affirmation. And, affirmations are statements that you say to yourself to inspire you in various ways and to push you forward. And my affirmation that I want to share today is, I finish what matters and I let go what does not. So I finish what matters and I let go what does not. And oftentimes we hold on to so many things that when we look at it, it really does not matter in the grand scheme of things. And holding on to too many things allows us not to accomplish things that we ought to accomplish, things that really actually matters. And so my affirmation shared today is, I finish what matters and I let go what does not. So Jamster, this morning we are looking and hoping to have Carla Astafan, who is the president and chair lady of the local reparations committee. We are also looking to have the general manager of Dreamy Decor, Shajane Gumbs, and we're hoping to have discussions with them here this morning at different times. recognizing that on Saturday there is an event at Buckley's, an annual event, recognizing what has happened, the Buckley's riot, and so we realize in the following month it is Valentine's Day, and that is the month where many persons recognize loved ones internationally, locally, regionally. And so we have a representative from Dreamy Decor, Gumbs, the general manager, who will speak with us this morning. But we have many things in the news. We have things locally, we have things regionally, and we have things internationally. And just to point out, we had the police officers here with us from traffic this week, and they spoke about the traffic incidents. They spoke about injuries. They spoke about non-injuries. They gave us the statistics for 2022. And here I have an article that was written by Yolanda Weeks just this week. And she says that the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force reveals its traffic incidents data within the last 8 years, showing a steady increase in traffic accidents from 2015 to 2022. The 2022 data, being the highest over an 8-year period, confirms that 1,756 traffic accidents were reported in St. Kitts and Nevis, compared to 1,664 reported cases in the previous year, an increase of 92. However, the most recent data further reveals that 1,430 reported traffic cases occurred without injuries. 286 involved slight injuries, and 34 traffic accidents resulted in serious injuries. Sadly, 6 road fatalities were recorded in the country. We had Natalia Roberts and Boswell Lescott in Nevis. We had Shaquille Marsham, Lynette Nathan, and Shinezi Puran and Miss Pitcher. She says, examining the breakdown in the districts for the year 2022, 1,384 traffic accident cases were reported to authorities in District A and B, St. Kitts. There was an increase of 73 in comparison to 1,311 reported cases in 2021. Of the accidents that were reported in St. Kitts in 2022, 1,097 cases involved 0 injuries. 252 individuals were slightly injured, and 31 persons were seriously injured, and 4 persons died. Meanwhile, in District C, Nevis, there was also evidence of increased traffic-related incidents in 2022. The police confirmed 372 accidents in 2022, compared to 353 in 2021, an increase of 19. Police statistics reveal that 333 traffic incidents on Nevis involved no injuries. 34 were slight and 3 were serious. 2 road fatalities were recorded there. And this statistics was given during the morning show at Win FM on Tuesday, 24th January 2023 by Inspector Phipps of the Traffic Department, where she said that a majority of the accidents were caused by distracted drivers and speeding. Jamster, having read that, is there any views that you have on it, any comments whatsoever?
Well, first thing, I should point out to the listeners. Good morning, listeners. What's up?
That story is on the WINNMedia SKN website, so go up there and check it out. Well, the first thing I would say is the first obvious reason you would think of is, well, we have way more vehicles than we did.
Yeah.
Each succeeding year brings more vehicles. I mean, there's a running joke I have with some of my friends where we go, and I'm not the only one who says it. Where we go, wow, the car boat comes here every month. Where do all those cars go? Some one of my friends was saying, well, is somebody eating these cars? Because that boat comes, disgorges all these cars, and I personally sometimes I drive past TDC Hosfords and I look at the cars and I was like, there's no way they can sell all those cars.
Yeah,
I say that every month, and then by the end of maybe 2 months, the yard is empty again, and then it's crazy.
In fact, the police officers said when they were here that it is approximately 25,000 registered vehicles on the islands of St. Kitts and
Wow.
Nevis. So you recognize that there's a lot of vehicular traffic. In fact, when you come in to work in the morning, you have to actually leave at a certain time to avoid the traffic.
Exactly. I mean, it tells you something that they had to introduce traffic lights, right?
Mhm.
But on a more serious note, as far as the statistics go, I would like to see a little more granularity, a little more analytical
Mhm.
and granular collection of. Here's why I say this. Okay, we know these were serious. This amount of people died and all that. I'd like to see, for example, the ages, gender, looking for patterns. They should be looking for way more patterns, because then that would go towards determining mitigating factors in terms of saying, well, okay, maybe we need to do this because you notice during maybe during music festival, just for example, you notice this happens, or location again is another key indicator that they should probably be looking at. Things like age, or is the person's vision? Does the person have 20/20 vision?
Yes.
How old is the person? Was the person drunk? All those things. Were they high? Maybe
In fact, when they were here, Jamster, I asked them questions about the gender, whether it's you find that more males are getting into accidents than females, and the location, whether it's around roundabouts, whether it's around tough spots, junctions. And so I agree that, with you and your comments, that it could give a more detailed and more descriptive analysis could be given.
I'll give you an insight that will go towards you'll get it. I remember reading an essay a few years ago, about 10 years ago, about someone wrote an essay, a psychologist, a sociologist wrote an essay on why it is that most politicians tend to be men. and the person said, and trust me, this carries over to driving, I think. The person said that men take more risks than women. And I think it's the same thing with drivers. I mean, I'm sure most people would agree. Men tend to take a lot more risk when it comes to driving, whereas women are more cautious. So, but to your point, it would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see the breakdown in terms of gender as well.
Yes.
Along with all the other indicators, that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Also, in the news, we look at regional news, Jamster, and we see that in the region, there's still a buzz. But before we go into the region, even here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we see that in Nevis, the Nevis Island Assembly has been open for its new session. The new session for the Nevis Island Assembly was on the 19th of January. And today we're still awaiting the appointment of the leader of the opposition and opposition senator. And, there are some comments in the news, some comments on social media, but there's no official word as to what is happening yet. So I wish not to comment on that, but just to highlight that persons are still waiting on the appointment of the leader of the opposition and the opposition senator.
Okay.
Yes. And so if we look at the regional news, Jamster, Antigua and Barbuda, based on what has happened recently, just last week. We have a Win news item that says Antigua, new UPP leader and opposition senators sworn in. And it says, and this is by Robert Emmanuel of the Antigua Observer, and it reads, a newly appointed political leader of the United Progressive Party, UPP, Jamal Pringle, and the 4 opposition senators were officially sworn in yesterday at Government House. So this article was written on the 25th, I assume, so that probably will have been on the 24th. It could be corrected. It goes on to say Pringle, who retained his seat in Parliament representing the constituency of All Saints East and St. Luke in last week's election, once again was sworn in as leader of the opposition. We recognize that he would have been the lone member from his party the last time, but now he is joined by others. Pringle will now have the task of leading a stronger opposition bench in the House of Representatives. Opposition members now number 8, including recently elected UPP candidates, plus Bermuda's MP Trevor Walker and former Antigua Barbuda Labour Party member Azard Michael. Meanwhile, UPP General Secretary Sean Nicholas, unsuccessful candidate for St. Mary's North constituency, Jonathan Joseph, unsuccessful candidate for St. Philip's North, Alex Brown, and Antigua and Barbuda's Workers' Union General Secretary David Masia were appointed senators. Nicholas, Joseph, and Massa have all previously served as senators, with Sean Nicholas holding a role since 2013, Jonathan Joseph serving as senator since 2018, and David from 2009 to 2014. So here we see we are unsuccessful candidates are being sworn in as senators, and you know that in St. Kitts and Nevis,
That I know that
that's cannot.
that's a no-no, right?
Yeah, it cannot. But we recognize too that in Antigua and Barbuda it has a bicameral system, where in St. Kitts and Nevis has a unicameral system. So we have one house, where in Antigua and Barbuda they have two houses, the upper house and the lower house.
Let me ask you a question. Is Trinidad, how many houses is Trinidad unicameral or
Trinidad based on my knowledge, I think it is bicameral.
bicameral as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
unicameral is only few territories in the Caribbean have it, and St. Kitts and Nevis is one. St. Kitts and Nevis is peculiar and unique in many ways in terms of how our constitution is set up.
But then I would argue that the
Mhm.
country is too small to have 2 houses, really. I mean, I even think it's too small to even have a...
Mhm.
I'm sorry, people are not going to like this, but I think the country is too small to even have a separate Nevis government. You should have... I have always said that
Mhm.
all the parties should run on the 2 islands,
Mhm.
and the government should be made up of the people who are elected should be made up of people from both islands,
Mhm.
and then they run the government. I think it's wasteful to have a house in Nevis and a house in St. Kitts for barely 50,000 people. I'm sorry.
Well, in fact, the house.
So people are not going to like that, but the power hungry people, they aren't going to like to hear that, but that's what I think.
The Nevis Island Assembly will serve Nevis alone, whereas the federal parliament will serve St. Kitts and Nevis. You realize even in our constitution, the entity is St. Kitts and Nevis,
Yes.
then the entity Nevis. So there's
Exactly.
no
So there
St.
again-
Kitts entity, and
Exactly.
I think
So- and
that
that's
is
another strange. That
is something that
strange,
legislators would have to look into, because they would have the necessary, the lawmakers. So of
Yes.
course they would have the necessary, and of course suggestions could be made by members outside to them as to the way forward a model.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do our politicians even listen to us?
But they ought to listen.
Let me answer my own question.
They ought to
No.
listen. Yes.
I'll answer my own question and say no.
Mhm. Okay.
Because, no, seriously, the
Mhm.
country is too small The countries, I feel like, I mean, you're paying three, you're paying three governor people. You have a deputy, you have a lieutenant governor in Nevis, and you have a governor general.
Yeah, we had the
Really?
governor general, the governor general's
Why?
deputy, and the deputy governor general.
I mean, why? It
Yeah.
should be two. It should probably be two. Okay, obviously you might need one in Nevis. But two houses, why? Makes no sense. But all of the parties should have been national parties, and they run candidates on both islands. Why is that? And then the other thing, the other wasteful thing, you should have been having all elections happen at once. Why we can't walk on chew gum? meaning in the U.S. When you have general elections, you have federal, state, and local elections.
Yes.
Right? So why can't we have the federal election? I think it's unfair that Nevisians have to have an election every 2.5 years. That's ridiculous.
Well,
The two elections can be held at the same time.
yeah, and you find in 2022, because of the premature election, so to speak, and you realize that both St. Kitts and Nevis had elections in the same year.
You realize how absurd that sounds?
Yes.
Both St. Kitts and Nevis. You realize how ridiculous that sounds?
It's a discussion to be had, of
Yeah.
course, and that's when we look at constitutional reform and areas within the Constitution that ought to be reformed, ought to be amended. The U.S. has amended its constitution numerous times, and
But every time I bring it up with the elders, they always say, reading between the lines, the impression I get is that it seems as though the Constitution is written in such a way that it's almost impossible to make amendments, because just by dint of the amount of the percentage of,
Yes.
of people in the house, it's almost impossible to get anything done, because this is my words now. Everybody's selfish. They're thinking about their party rather than the country and the greater good.
But there are some provisions in the Constitution that would be more easily amended than others. There are different clauses. There's an entrenched clause and the like, not to go into legal jargon, but there's some, and you'd understand that the Constitution, because it is the supreme law of the land, ought not to be, in a sense, so easily changed and amended. I think that is why certain provisions are there, and you need, such rigor to get it changed.
But it seems like there's no middle ground, though, right? That's at least
and of
that's
course
the impression we get.
you'll need the lawmakers to communicate,
It seems extremely difficult
and for the
to change.
people, the public, to agitate. So, I have reached out to the opposition leader in Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Jamal Pringle, who has agreed so far, once his schedule allowed, to have an interview with us here on WINNFM sometime next week. So I say that now, so callers could be aware of it. Persons, our listeners, could be aware of it, so we could have a discussion as to Antigua and Barbuda, the way forward for his party and the like. I know that there was a statement made by the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, in relation to, he has a very slim majority, one seat majority, and so he will have made some statements. I think we have that right, Jamster?
I think we have it. I was actually trying to play it. Let me see. I didn't want to say anything until until I was sure. I had to bring a special piece of equipment so I could play it from my phone. But
That's fine. That's fine.
okay, so if you could go ahead
Oh,
talking.
okay.
I'm just trying to, I'm trying to figure it out here
Okay,
still.
no problem. Yeah, so we're hoping to have him next week, and of course, these are our regional counterparts. Antigua and Barbuda is very close to St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course, other things that are happening in the news around the region. It's good to have, where possible, a discussion by those persons, because we realize we all have similarities. And we had the senator here, well, not here, but on air, speaking about the campaign in Antigua and Barbuda, and some of the promises and some of the challenges. We realize COVID-19 posed a challenge. He indicated also that supply of water and the like and resources also pose a challenge. So you realize that all the countries basically in the Caribbean, we have similar challenges, and we could find similarities, and we could find opportunity to work together and to solve these problems, but it depends on the leaders that we have and how well they communicate with each other, how well they are willing to cooperate with each other,
and how much they value the common good rather than the selfish good.
Yeah.
Because most of them seem to elevate the selfish good over everything else.
And Jamstar, internationally, in the U.S., there was an incident involving a young man and some police officers. I don't know if we have that, but the incident, I think it's being tried as we speak, involving a young man who was,
Well, he hasn't gotten to the courts yet, but because the policemen were just charged.
Yeah.
The twist with this story is that this happened in Memphis, Tennessee, listeners. The twist with this is that this is a case where we talk about police brutality and how it tends to overwhelmingly affect Black Americans.
Yes.
Well, the twist with this is a case where blue trumped black, because 5 black police officers and apparently a fireman as well were charged with beating this guy to death. There was a preliminary autopsy done by an independent what do you call those people again? A coroner or pathologist, and he said that Mr. Nichols died from internal bleeding due to a 3-minute beating. Well, due to beating, and apparently the body cam footage showed that he was beaten for 3 minutes straight by 5 black men. So that's a kind of uncomfortable twist for people of our complexion, because here we have five black policemen being accused of this. The other thing is, this points to something that I've always noticed with a lot of Black Americans, or people of African descent living in majority white countries. You have a situation where you have the go along to get along factor. So I think one of the things at play here is it also ties in with the blue trumps black thing. Blue trumps color, the color blue trumps the color black, in the sense that in order to sort of establish solidarity with their white colleagues, they tend to almost overcompensate and do the same things that they do. That many of the white policemen, if you get where I'm coming from, say go along to get along. So it's like you'll see white cops doing stuff. You may not do anything about it.
So I have a because the story was published on YouTube by MSNBC, and here under this story, under the video, it says here, there are growing calls for 5 Memphis police to be criminally charged. So he hasn't gone to court yet. Criminally charged for the death of 29-year-old Mr. Nichols, who died after being pulled over for alleged reckless driving. An internal investigation concluded the officers used excessive force and they failed to render aid to him, and a federal rights probe has been opened. speaks about the civil rights lawyer, Miss Maya Willie, joins MSNBC's by saying she sees a grieving mother, adding there are, and I quote, there are black women all over the country who, if they haven't been in that position before, are seeing once again, I fear for my children, end of quote. And the article, well, I mean,
well, there's a twist to the story. I think it was MSNBC I saw 2 nights ago where they said that they've already tabled legislation. I forgot what the name of it is, but the legislation is gonna legislate police officers stopping other police officers from doing inappropriate, having inappropriate interactions, putting it mildly, inappropriate interactions with their with their charges, with their quarries, like people that maybe they're arresting or apprehending.
And this is a discussion between, police have the powers, to arrest and those things, and they have the power to use reasonable force, reasonable given the circumstances, but not excessive. And and that would be the discussion to be had, whether or not they went outside of those powers and exercised a force that was not reasonable at all, but in fact excessive. And so those are some of the highlights that we have this morning. Of course, we welcome callers at any point in time in the show to call in, to give their views on any of the topics, to suggest topics that could be discussed either now or at a later time.
Actually, yes, call us. So give us a call, 466-0989, 662-0989, and 762-0989. It's important to note that the George Floyd case also presented an example of go along to get along, because you had a Hmong police officer and a black police officer as part of the 4 officers who were ultimately charged. So, like I said, that's one of the things going on there. It's like, okay, you're part of a force with say 2,000 people, and you're one of a 3% black force maybe, and you sometimes I'm not saying it as a justification, but I mean I'm just trying to go through I'm just trying to do some armchair psychology on what goes on, because I've been in these situations in college where I'm like the only black person in class. I mean, I used to feel so great when I think at one point I had like 3 other black guys in the class. I was like, yay! But so I understand. There's a degree of go along to get along, and it carries over to this kind of thing, because take for example in the case of George Floyd, you had the Asian guy and the black guy standing off. The Asian guy was actually, remember, he was standing by the curb, trying to keep some of the onlookers away, while Mr. Man was kneeling on Mr. Floyd's head. So just pointing out that there's some go along to get along there. Not that it's an excuse at all, because that could get spun by some listeners to say, "Oh, you're saying you're justifying five policemen killing another black man, 5 black policemen killing another black man." But yeah,
I the story itself, without getting into any legality. Or any legal issues. Socially, it's a very, disheartening story. The loss of any individual is significant.
Absolutely.
And again, we're looking at so many disheartening stories, and that's the life we live.
Yes.
Life isn't perfect, and what we have, and we ought not take it for granted. The life that we have.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Jamsa, you were saying something?
No, I was going to say, let's take a quick break and I'll come back. I actually, I'm going to try and get the cabinet secretaries. I actually have it here. I'm going to see if I can get
That'll
it to
be
play.
awesome.
Yeah, it's just 3 minutes, but I think it's important. Someone had mentioned to me yesterday that he made some comments about funding for the music festival and so on. And, this year is supposed to be a significant milestone.
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting to hear what he says about that and other things.
Yes.
If we can get it to play.
Let's hope he plays. Yes,
Okay.
So we will get right back to you and acknowledge our sponsors at this time.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
You ever hear Earthquake call and say, "Hello, Miss Lee, yes, it's me, Earthquake, I come in Tuesday around 10? No, sir. Earthquake does arrive unannounced, and when it come, it shake all sense and sensibility out of we. Remain calm, stay inside, and do the DCH. Drop, cover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the doorway or any exit. Stairs might broke up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that, because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH, drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors in an earthquake, bad news. Take care yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people entering or exiting a building. Last thing, nobody run outside and ask, you feel it, you feel it? Remain calm, stay indoors until all the shaking stop, and do the DCH, drop, cover, hold on.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WINFM.
King Ocean, king of the Caribbean seas, announces king-size savings on shipments from Miami to St. Kitts. We have the best service and competitive rates on LCL and FCL cargo, including D&E containers, cars, heavy equipment, buses, boats, and barrels from Miami to St. Kitts. LCL pickup service anywhere in the U.S. Call local agents SL Horseman and Company Limited at 869-465-4086 or 869-662-5008 for further details. King Ocean's king-size savings on shipments from Miami to St. Kitts Nevis. King Ocean, king of the Caribbean seas.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Hello? Hey, yo, Mario, hold on.
Never sounded like this.
Radio never sounded like this, sounded like this.
98.9 Win FM.
Win FM.
We're not. Welcome back to Island Tea. I am your host, Azard Gumbs. And with me is Jamster. And also we have an in-studio guest. We have no stranger to anyone who knows radio and listens radio here on WINNFM and other platforms. We have Miss Astafan, Miss Carla Astafan.
Good morning, Azad. Thank you for inviting me
No
on.
problem, no
You know,
problem.
I'm a diehard WinFM, listener
Yes.
and contributor and everything.
Yes. You have contributed in so many forms and so many ways. Not that is a topic, but I remember you did the article on carnival and, giving persons their views. Not that we're going to discuss it this morning, but just to
That's
show.
another show.
Yes. So, Jamster, I know that you were looking for the clip with the press conference, with the cabinet briefing. So, we're going to have that played right now.
Greetings. Welcome to your post-cabinet briefing, where we provide you with key updates on matters of national importance implemented by your government for the betterment of the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I am Dr. Marcus Natter, Cabinet Secretary. The Cabinet Ministers met under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, on Monday, 23rd January 2023, and made several significant decisions to improve the well-being of our people. The Cabinet approved a key financial injection of over $1 million for the St. Kitts Music Festival. A portion of this support will facilitate the coverage of outstanding debts from the June 2022 staging of the festival and assist with early marketing and promotion of this year's event. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party-led administration remains committed to this world-renowned and leading Caribbean music festival, which was established in 1996 under a previous Labour administration. The 25th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival is slated for June 2023. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the construction of the Buckley's Uprising Monument Park. 1.57 acres of land at Buckley's estate has been earmarked for the Monument Park. On the eve of the 80th anniversary of the January 28, 1935 uprising, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration believes proper recognition for the heroes of that day is long overdue. In that regard, the Cabinet also approved the creation of a Buckley's Uprising Monument Park Committee, which will spearhead the work in creating a monument park that will be befitting of the sacrifices and memories of those fallen heroes who sparked the birth of democracy, not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but throughout the entire Caribbean. In its pledge to meet the housing needs of our people, the Cabinet approved, in principle, an $600 million housing project to provide an estimated over 2,000 affordable housing solutions over the next 4 to 5 years. The requisite due diligence and other key assessments are being carried out before finalization of the proposed project. This has been your post-cabinet briefing for January 23, 2023. Be sure to tune in again for more updates on the projects and policies that will advance our great nation. Thank you for tuning in.
Okay, that was the Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Natter, and he indicated numerous things. I think 3 main things he indicated about monies being injected for the music festival. This is a significant year. He also spoke about the Buckley's Uprising Monument Park and Committee, the 88th year here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and he also spoke about the housing development, approximately 2,000 homes to be built over the next term. Well, during this term in office. And so we have here the president, the chair person of the Reparations Committee, Carla Astafan. And it is significant because here we are talking about the Buckley's Uprising this morning, and we have by the Cabinet Secretary an announcement about a monument park and committee. So, Ms. Asafan, how does that feel to you?
Well, that feels very good. Actually, last night I was perusing Facebook, as usual, and I saw a post by Miss Dorr. She mentioned the 400 years anniversary that's coming up on Saturday, and the 88th anniversary of the Buckley's Uprising. And this is something that we at the St. Kitts Nevis National Reparations Committee talked about. And we actually came up that we are going to focus this year on the journey, because 400 years to basically the journey, 400 years colonization to reparations. And so I was sitting there, I said, I should write something. And so I wrote, I don't know if you mind if I share it with you.
No, of course you could share it. Share it with the listeners. I looked at it and I was intrigued. So, yes.
So basically, I headed it, not a day to celebrate, yet a day of commemoration. This coming Saturday is a strangely unique day. It is a major day in the history of this island, the anniversary of two significant events in St. Kitts history. 400 years ago, the British colonization of the Caribbean began on the island that was called St. Christopher by the navigator Columbus, who had claimed the island for Spain without ever setting foot on the island. The beginning of a brutal history of colonization and slavery. 'Twas on 28th January 1623, on the island called Liamiga, that the Kalinago chief Tegraman stood on the beach on the west coast of the island. As he looked out towards the sea, he saw approaching the island some strange-looking ships. He waited there and watched as a gallantly dressed man alighted the vessel. The man would introduce himself as Sir Thomas Warner. It would appear that England had given him the royal authority to settle the island. He and his entourage would seek the guidance of the Kalinago people who treated them quite well. Alas, the Kalinago chief Tegraman did not know that he had just welcomed a man who would kill him and the majority of his people a mere 3 years later. 400 years, the slaughter of Kalinago people, the enslavement of Africans, the torture, the struggles, the wealth generated from the proceeds of sugar. For the next major event, we fast forward to the 28th of January, 1935, just a little over 100 years after the abolition of slavery. Life was not far removed from the conditions under which enslaved people work, except for the meager wages they were now paid. The cane cutters at Buckley's estates were being denied an increase in their wages by Mr. Dorbridge, the estate manager. The cane cutters, men and women who needed to feed their families, decided to burn cane fields and lead an uprising which would spread through the island. It was a major uprising which gave rise to the labor movement and to trade unionism throughout the region. Adult suffrage, associated statehood, the acquisition of cane lands, independence. Where are we today? On this Saturday, I will join the commemoration of this day when the 88th anniversary of the Buckley's Uprising will be held. The call for creation of a place of memory of this significant event continues. So when I wrote that, I did not even know what had happened in cabinet.
Yes.
I just know that I have been going to this uprising commemoration every year. And I've heard politician after politician, promise. And so it's a long coming. It is something that has to be done. We have heard enough, and I'm very happy to hear that the current administration has decided to put their money where their mouth is, right? They have, this is something that Honorable Conris Maynard and I talked about right here in the studio. I brought it up when he interviewed me before he got elected.
Yes.
And so this was something that we want to make sure it happens. Our Prime Minister today, the Honorable Drew, has made an effort to see the reparations agenda being fulfilled as well. So, so this is the push. I mean, it's happening. The thing is, there's a lot of work to be done. We had started work under the previous administration. and we want it to continue. There's a lot of work to be done, and so I'm happy to hear that this first initiative is being dealt with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What can we look forward to from the Reparations Committee? What are some of the ideas? We recognize that reparations could come in many forms. And so what is it that the committee, your committee, is looking forward to from our colonizers?
Well, money at the end of the day. As a matter of fact, last night I listened to a guy called Uncle Phil. Someone posted it in the CARICOM Reparations WhatsApp chat. And this guy just, totally against the CARICOM 10-point plan, which is the agenda, which is what our focus is really on the St. Kitts Nevis National Reparations Committee, the CARICOM 10-point plan, which was implemented in 2014 or thereabouts. And as I listened to it, he's in America and he's talking about the plans, the 10-point plan. He's just basically rubbished it and said, we want money. And there are people who think that way, that we don't, he said everything there we can do ourselves on the 10-point plan. He's basically saying governments can do it. They don't need England to give them money for that. Basically, we can do it ourselves. Our governments can put monies towards those things. He is saying that we want the cold hard cash. That's his view. CARICOM's view is a developmental plan, an economic plan, something that would serve everyone. So we will see how what goes. I mean, we want to get a groundswell of support for the reparations movement. We want to educate about it. We want to be able to go into the schools. We want to get, get people into the mindset. Because as I said I had listened to Dr. Hilary Beckles, and he had said, if you think about let us put our brains to 1824. Slavery was happening. Slavery was, the enslaved would not have thought at that time. Yes, there was resistance. But would they have thought that in their lifetime, those who made it to 1834, 1838, that they would see freedom in their lifetime? So many people ask the question, are we going to see reparations in our lifetime? We don't know. I can't see around the corner. The thing is, we have to keep working towards a goal. And so for that goal, I mean, I'm, getting a milestone birthday this year. So it's the others, it's you, the younger generation who's going to keep that fire burning. And how can you keep that fire burning if you have no knowledge, if we don't create that energy, that passion for it? So that our, what our ancestors suffered can be accounted for, so that's basically it.
Could you give, because I may know about the Buckley's uprising, but there might be persons who are listening to us. We have callers. Okay, we have callers. So we have two callers. Callers, you're live on Win FM. Good morning. Okay, so.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Yes. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
Yes. It's very good that at least it seems that there's progress being made towards the Buckley's monument. I don't understand why some of these things take so long. Do you know if the land earmark is actually on Buckley's estate? The estate yard, or is it somewhere close by?
Well, I don't know where they're going to put it as yet. As they said, they're going to put a committee in place. As you know, those lands were bought over. So as to whether the government is going to reacquire it. But remember, Buckley's is a very large estate. I actually live at Buckley's, okay? So maybe that's where my passion comes from, even though
But Buckley's yard is a small area.
Yeah, the Buckley's.
What they call Buckley's yard.
Yeah. Remember, the cane cutters were working in the cane field, all where we have houses now, all where we have the roundabout, all up by me where we have a nice little park. There's other places. The thing is, something has to be done, and it's, it can be created in an area other than just the estate yard. If the estate yard is sold, I'm saying there must be somewhere else. Buckley's estate had a lot of land. You understand? So there must be some place that could be allocated for the monument to be held. We keep focusing on the Buckley's estate yard, but if it's sold, no sense trying to, unless they can acquire it. But I'm saying, forget about that. I have a nice park next to me. I live on Buckley's Park. At least that's my address, Buckley's Park, right? So it could be anywhere on Buckley's estate. Okay, that large
but
estate.
At the same time, you don't want it tucked away somewhere.
No, you don't. You don't.
So actually, that roundabout, close to that roundabout.
Yes.
Where there's lots of traffic. To me, that would be a great site, and actually make it so that it's utilitarian as well, like some kind of crossover, walkover, to connect the communities, because that highway itself is dangerous to cross.
Yes.
But make something imposing, and not off the beaten
right.
path.
I agree with you. I love the idea of that roundabout, right there at Buckley's, above the movies. It's run by Social Security, but I think, a monument there would be a perfect idea.
And speaking of monuments, I don't know what has become of the monument to slavery. Again, something like that is taken forever.
Yes.
I thought UNESCO was spearheading that in some way.
Well, that is one of the things we have on our agenda at the St. Kitts Nevis National Reparations Committee. Have placed it on the agenda as one of the things, and for me personally, given my knowledge of the history of St. Kitts, I work on the train, and I'm very passionate in Mr. Stapleton's book, and actually it was Mr. Stapleton who first identified to me about the 400-year anniversary in a workshop a few months ago. And in his book, he speaks of the very first revolt that took place in St. Kitts, and it was when a group of Africans went up into Mount Lyamega. So I am actually, thinking that Diebe, where that first revolt took place, would be an ideal space. I'm saying this because we have to learn from our brothers and sisters in the region. We were thinking about the square many years ago, and I was actually on that committee where they was talking about putting a monument on the square. And I recall going to Dominica, where I'm from originally, and they put a monument of Bala, who was a runaway, in an area of Dominica in Roseau, where a lot of the plantocracy would have lived. So it doesn't speak, and I remember the debate afterwards where people are talking about why wasn't Bala put elsewhere? You understand, where he actually did his revolt in a place that was much more significant. Bala was up in the hills. You understand? So I'm saying...
Well, again, location is everything when it comes to monuments. And I personally, I would have liked a monument to slavery be built on
Independence Square?
No, not Independence Square, actually. No, leave Independence Square as it is. But at Sofa Stone, for instance,
at where?
Sofa Stone.
Okay. So then people have to
where
journey.
Sofa Stone is,
Yeah,
right?
I've never been there, but I've
Exactly.
I've never been there.
That to me, that's the perfect spot in terms of, it overlooks so much of St. Kitts, the plantations around. It would be visible from Bastille.
You're kidding, really?
Have it something like the what do they call it? Christ the King statue on top of the Brazilian.
I totally get
Brazilian
you.
Hill. So that it's totally visible even from Nevis.
Okay.
From the ports, the air and sea ports.
Okay.
You don't want a monument tucked away, I think, where people can't see it. People are supposed to look at whatever the structure would be and wonder what that is, or know what that is and what it represents.
Well, that's a good
You know?
idea.
And the final thing, I think, is a monument to the indigenous people who occupied the island before.
You and I on the same wavelength. That is exactly
right.
what my
it's
focus
obvious where
is.
that should be. You know, somewhere, again, close to the main road,
Right.
down the area of Bloody Point.
So you and I suspect that's Mr. McMahon's voice.
Yes.
So Mr. McMahon,
Yes, it is.
we are on the same wavelength, okay? That's exactly because, as you heard me say in the piece, the first thing, the decimation of the Kalinago people, we have to pay honor to them.
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
I think the ultimate celebration and veneration of the indigenous people is to reclaim the indigenous names that they gave to these islands and cast off the colonizers' names. St. Kitts should be Liamiga, Antigua should be Wadadli, Dominica should be
Waitukubuli. Tall is her body.
That's a huge undertaking.
Yes.
Why is that a huge undertaking? I mean, Sri Lanka used to be called Ceylon. Ceylon was a name given by the colonizers, and it's now Sri Lanka. How hard is that?
Yeah.
Burma used to be called Burma. It's now Kampuchea. I mean, come on, excuses. I'm not going for those excuses.
I'm not sure if you polled petitions about that, how many would want to change their name. And that's why I say, I mean, maybe in terms of Sri Lanka,
And you know,
from Ceylon,
so that means a lot of us have Stockholm syndrome then.
Jamster, you make a valid point. Mr. McMahon as well makes a valid point. The thing is, let us understand St. Christopher. Why the name St. Christopher? And I only learned that. I mean, we all know Christopher Columbus never stopped here. Okay? This is what I say this every day. He never stopped here. He called the island St. Christopher. You know why? I got that from Mr. Stapleton as well. As the sailors looked at the island and the way it lay in the water, it looked like the Saint Christopher carrying the Christ on his back. That's how, because Liamiga, the way Liamiga is sort of, you know, the tallest point, and then you have all this flatter land. Somehow it looked like a hump. Like that was basically what was written. And then how did we become St. Kitts? Christopher, people called Christopher were nicknamed Kit. Okay? So that's all it is, a nickname.
Exactly.
We are a nickname. Okay? St. Kitts means Christopher. It's Kit. Okay? And I remember reading books as a child where I came across in English literature where people called Kit, whose name is Christopher. So Jamster is making a valid point, and maybe that is something that you, the younger people, could explore. It is the few generations that's coming in the future that will, you know, decide whether are we going to go back to Liamiga. It's, you know.
And you know, you realize that Jamaica actually has its indigenous name.
Yes, Jamaica has its it's
Yes.
yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Well,
anyone?
Mr. McMahon is still there?
No.
Okay. So that was a very fruitful discussion. The location of the sites, Buckley's, what area in Buckley's, looking at, you know, possible areas outside, as you say, in Dominica, even though you had Bala living and
in the hills.
In the hills, being placed where the planter class would have been. I think that is significant as well, is a reminder of his fight against plantocracy.
Yes, so there's
So
that
let's
side.
take one more call.
We have another caller.
Island T, go right ahead. Hello, caller, go right ahead. Okay. Hello, go right ahead.
Yes, greetings.
Hey,
Greetings.
Okay. All right, extend the same to your guests. Good program, give thanks to the information flowed. You know, this Buckley's matter. The struggle continues, you know. the struggle continues even up to our time. And this ought not be, the way we go about it, it ought not be a celebration, you know. But the time to celebrate is yet to come, you know. Because as I said before, the struggle continues. And what we really need to strive towards, you know, is embracing the generations of young ones, and if those who are unborn, towards having the knowledge of the struggle, so that when we observe things like these, it is all and sundry. Because when we look at the gathering that is taking place at Buckley's every time the 28th of January comes around, you know, we can just see a very small fraction of the population being involved, being present. It means that it is void. It is like a void in their minds, of the minds of the most of our people. So we really need to get this in there.
And Rasili.
Pardon?
Rasili. Yes, I recognize your voice, and I will tell you that this is foremost in my mind, that it is time for us to have youth for reparations, youth involvement in our history, you know, that sort of thing. This is what I'm talking about. We have to go out there. We have to encourage. Even yesterday when I spoke at the Catholic Church, I told the children, you have to start to create, you know, youth groups. Okay, so let us say youth for reparations. Okay, we can, So how are they going to want to create such groups? It is for us to teach them and show them, well, this is what happened. And like I'm telling Azard, you have to continue the fight. You have to continue educating each other. You have to be cognizant of what happened so that you can keep the struggle going, so that so this can continue. So you are actually, you know, like the caller before, reading my mind, right? Because this is the focus, the young people. I was in a meeting yesterday, a CARICOM reparations meeting, and that came up as well, where, you know, we have to start having constant meetings with young people and invite the young people so that they can become, you know, they can have, you know, a St. Kitts group,
they
may call it.
The fire.
Yeah, it's young people who have the fire. So, you know, if we don't teach them, it's not going to happen.
And not cutting you, because I don't want to spend too much time on your program. And it is something noticed. It is something noticed by them and those who are responsible for all the pains, all the unwanted isms that we are still suffering from. But it's serious, and we really have to embrace all and sundry. Otherwise, we'll be going this way for generations to come.
Okay.
That one of Bob Marley's song, I think, is the one there, Damien. He sang a song there, said, if the struggle continues without the victory, I mean, we are doing stand. He says it's time for the struggle to end.
Okay. Thank you, Eli.
That's it.
Thank you, Rasili. Yes. So as we continue on, Mr.
Yes. It's very interesting, the Buckley's uprising, the significance it plays in the lives of our people, remembrance of our struggles, recognizing that just next month is Black History Month, just a couple of days away. Could you give us an insight as to what to expect this Saturday at the activity?
Well, I'm not part of the organizing committee for that particular event.
Okay.
But I know it's usually organized by the Rastafari Nyabingi Theocracy Order. So I have been invited to say something there. We on the Reparations Committee, as I said, we are planning a panel discussion. We hope we haven't spoken to anybody. We will, to the people that we have identified to be on that panel. We want to look at the period of 400 years. Okay, so as I said, Saturday is the double. It's not a celebration. It's a commemoration of the Buckley's Uprising, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that 400 years ago, on the 28th of January, the start of colonization, the arrival of the people who would create what we have. It is what, the sugar economy, the decimation of the people, how significant is that? And as Mr. Ras Eli said, where are we today? Where are we today? Why we are still struggling. We still have a lot of work to do. And it is because of the journey of 400 years why we are in the position we are today. So, but we have, at the same time, as I'm thinking about the journey, okay, we have to look at the fact that we have evolved as well.
Yes.
Right? I actually, after I spoke to you and you said that you'd like to have me on the show, I decided let's look back at least over the last 50 years.
Yes.
1973 would have been 350 years of this, the arrival of Sir Thomas Warner.
Yes.
I actually Googled and I found there was stamps. Yeah, there's a stamp collection, and you can it's actually for sale on eBay. So there's a special stamp that was designed for the commemoration of the 350th anniversary of the arrival of Sir Thomas Warner. The reason I'm saying this, and the reason that it is huge, it is because colonization started here. We all know that St. Kitts is the mother colony. I learned that when I was at school in Dominica. You understand?
Learned it as a child as well.
We parroted. You understand?
The mother colony of the West Indies.
The mother colony of the West Indies, yes. So this is so significant. You understand? It is significant. So let us look at 300...
You realize how twisted that sounds, right?
What?
We're proud to be the mother colony. That's nothing to be proud of,
really.
It is a fact. It is what it is.
So we have been saying it, but yet on the 400th anniversary, it's going to pass like nothing.
I remember Element
okay, and why is it passing like nothing? When 50 years ago, it was a big deal. And the 350th anniversary, let's cast our minds as to how life was in 1973. We were an associated state of Britain. So none of these islands were as yet independent, okay? Meaning the small islands, okay?
So it was something persons would have been, as a colony, still independent. Dependent
on Britain.
Because,
so
you put in yourself...
The Cane lands had not been nationalized as
so
yet.
You're saying that you are the mother colony. You are the birth of the other colonies.
Right, we were. So I'm thinking that I would love for someone who is over the age of 60 or 70, thereabout, to be able to tell us what happened at that time. If they can remember... If there was some sort of, I'm picturing there must have been some sort of marching or so on. So there was probably some speeches. Something may have happened of significance.
Yes.
In 1973 to mark the 350th anniversary, because I saw stamps. I saw stamps online. So this must have been significant. Over that time, what happened from 73 to now? The rise of the Rastafarian movement, that black consciousness, all of those things occurred. And this is why today we don't even study in it.
I think what
so it's a good journey in the last 50 years. We became independent, the cane lands were nationalized, and all of that. So
I think what could happen to we realize our era, young persons, the age of technology. What could happen to make it more the message, to have the message spread across is documentary videos. We have to use the social media. We have to use that to engage young people, and as a way of an educational tool, so they're able to take in the information, appreciate the information in the platforms that they are used to now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before I leave, let me just invite everyone to come out on Saturday for the Buckley's Uprising commemoration, the 88th anniversary of the Buckley's Uprising, and it's very significant to the labor movement, how we live today, the fact that we are able to vote, and all of those things came out of that. So let us be Saturday. You have no excuse. We are normally just liming on a Saturday.
What time did you say Saturday?
I think it starts about 3 o'clock from what I heard. So, as I said, I was only invited to speak. I haven't seen a flyer or anything, but someone did mention it was 3 o'clock. So thanks a lot for inviting me.
Okay. No problem anytime, Carla.
Okay,
and
Carla.
we do. Jamsa, you were saying something?
Yeah, I just want to say before we go to the break, one thing we need to think about when we talk about the mother colony, it's kind of like saying, oh, we were the first colony. It's kind of like saying, oh, we were the first rape victim. So there. I mean, it's kind of twisted to me.
Well,
I'm
it's
sorry.
not me who's saying it.
I know. I know. I'm just saying it's something we need to think about.
I mean, we could see the merit on both sides. I could see
the monumental Stockholm syndrome at work here.
Jamsa,
that's all I'm saying.
Jamsa is thinking very deeply, and he's thinking very.
I get what he's saying.
Yes, I get what he's saying
he's
as well.
He's running me from the studio and at the same time keeping me. It's a total, such a typical Gemini trait.
I love that ending.
Oh my God.
Carla, you're welcome anytime.
Right.
And of course, the invitation will be extended in future occasions to have you when we have points of discussion.
All right. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the break. We've got Inspector Cromwell Williams coming up next.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Trish, let's go. The bus is about to leave.
You go. Tell mommy I had detention.
I'm not lying to mommy. Where are you going?
I have a date.
A date? Shh. Don't shush me. Where are you going? I hope it's not to see that old man again.
He's not that old. He just came back from away and he's bringing me a gift.
You know if mommy find out what you're doing.
She won't, cause you're not gonna tell her. I'm gonna bring some money for you too. He always gives me cash to top up my phone and stuff.
No, I don't want it, and I'm not letting you go. Get on the bus or I'm telling the principal.
Secretly receiving gifts or items from older people may be the beginning of sexual grooming, which often leads to sexual exploitation. Don't allow your friends to encourage you to keep quiet about them secretly meeting with an adult. Break the silence. Talk to a teacher, guidance counselor, your parents, or a trusted adult who can help. This message is brought to you by UNICEF, UK Aid, Crime Stoppers, and this station.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Hortford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less and save more. How, you ask? Essential Everyday and Equiline. Spend less on our Essential Everyday products and get the best quality, the best taste, and the best value. Spend less for all your family health and beauty needs with the Equiline brand of over-the-counter products. Hortford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less. With our Essential Everyday products and Equiline over-the-counter health and beauty care products. Shop smart and spend less at Value Mart, where price matters most.
The radio station so hot, it's cool.
You don't know. You're listening to 98.9.
98.9 Win FM.
Pleasant morning. We are back on Island T, and I have with me Superintendent Cromwell, who would speak about, we call it the makeshift bikes. We call it the pedal bikes with motor, that usually they regulate themselves in terms of they operate as if they are the normal bikes, the pedal bikes, but then they have a motor attached to them. Yeah. So we have the superintendent here who will speak about, the legislation, who will speak about the issue that is occurring, and how I'm assuming how you as an officer and your department is trying to remedy the situation, the mischief that is happening.
Yes, thank you, Azard, and a pleasant good morning to your listeners. It's always a pleasure to be at Win FM, of course, to bring information to the public, to educate the public, because in educating, we make our work easier and we make the roads safer. Yes, you raised the issue of the motorized bicycles. We like to call them that.
Yeah.
They're bicycles with motor.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes them motorcycles.
Yes.
Because if it's a cycle, it's a bicycle because it doesn't have a motor.
Mm-hmm.
But once
you attach that motor to it,
gets a motor,
it operates as if it's a motorcycle.
A motorcycle, correct.
In essence.
Right. And the law prescribes a standard for motorcycles.
Yes.
And if you just take the bicycle and put on a motor without more, then it doesn't meet the standard of a motorcycle. And that is what makes it illegal to be used on the road.
Yeah, and I find a lot of persons, they're using it now. You find a lot of younger persons, teenagers.
Right, mostly.
They're engaging in the driving of these pedal bikes with motors.
Yeah, and for them it's fun. They get an adrenaline rush because of the speed that they're able to move at without any effort on their part in terms of powering the vehicle.
And you know what I find strangely enough, as we speak about it, they're not wearing any helmets. They're not wearing any protective gear.
They're not even wearing shoes sometimes.
So, it's very dangerous.
And they have short pads.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And the worst part is that they do this day and night. So at night, all you hear sometimes is the noise.
Yes.
You don't see anything until the last minute.
Exactly. And they operate without regard for traffic rules, traffic regulation, even courtesy of motor vehicle drivers.
Right.
Because sometimes you see them, you drive and you see them in front of you and they just operating haphazardly.
As if they're in the backyard.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's the other problem. These cyclists, they do not operate within the ambits of the law, the rules of the road. I mean, they're like a law unto themselves. They go up one-way street. They bore stop signs, as we call it. They weave in and out. You're at the stoplight waiting for a green light.
Yes.
And they will just whoosh past you while the light is red.
Because in their mind, they're operating as if they are operating a pedal bike. They're not operating they're not acting as if they're... Yeah.
But even a pedal bike is still required. You're still required to observe the traffic rules.
Yeah.
You cannot go up a one street on a pedal bike. I mean,
but a lot of persons won't be aware of that because and when you have a pedal bike, you feel
like you're walking.
But they are to observe the rules as well.
Exactly, because if something should happen, there must be a standard for us to determine who's
Correct.
at fault. And if there's no rule, how do we determine who's liable?
Definitely.
So that's the purpose of having rules, so that if something go wrong, then we could say, well, you did not follow the rule, or you broke this rule, so you are the cause of it. But if there's no rule, everybody do anything, then how do we determine who is at fault?
And I think when the law was created, the legislation to govern motor vehicles, motorbikes, and the like, I don't think at the time perhaps it was contemplated that that users would use their pedal bikes and attach a motor and use it in such a makeshift manner.
Right, correct.
So now the law has it needs some amendment.
Well, I don't think it needs amendment because the law has already set a standard for motorcycles.
So you're saying that
if you turn your bicycle into a motorcycle, then it now has to meet the standard of a motorcycle because it's okay to use it on the road as a bicycle. It meets the standard for a bicycle.
Yes.
But if you now convert it to another type of vehicle, then you must meet the standard of that new class that you have got.
And failure to do so would make it illegal.
Would make it illegal to use.
Right. So you're not
that
of
is all
the.
you're saying.
So you're not. So personally, you're not in the mindset of making accommodations for that type of maneuvering. Then, because that is where I spoke about amendments. If it is that the state is going to make an accommodation for it, but failure to make an accommodation would render that illegal.
Right. And making accommodation, and I'm not certain what you're proposing in that accommodation. Are you saying that we should allow them to be on the road without lights?
Well,
should we allow them to be on the road without proper brakes?
Of course not. Of course not.
Indicators,
but when I say accommodation, to create a special class of vehicles that would take into consideration the type of operation that is happening in terms of bike attached with motor. Of course, the accommodation ought not. It does not need to be made. It could be done. It could be left as well. It doesn't. It doesn't meet the standard, and so we are not going to make any accommodation. We're not going to make any amendments. But that's something for the lawmakers to discuss.
Right. Because we
have a caller. Sorry.
Sure, let's be happy to include the callers in the conversation.
Okay, so the accommodation would only be there if it is that you wish to accommodate or make provisions for that type of behavior.
Right.
In terms of the behavior of attaching a motor to a pedal bike. Yeah.
Right, because there would have to be other considerations.
Of course.
When you're making accommodation, because you have to look at, now these vehicles can travel at greater speeds than a regular bicycle.
Yes.
And greater speed means increased risk.
Yes.
If a bicycle without a motor hits you, the injury would be less than if a bicycle with a motor.
We have a caller.
It's you.
Caller, you're live.
Hi, good morning, host. Good morning, Soup.
Yeah.
I know you guys are very young and kids. You're still kids, but
kids?
You're big men.
We're not kids.
I just roll back your memory a little bit, just for a moment. Remember, we came from this stage of mopeds. You remember the mopeds? I don't know if you remember, we had something on the road we call moped.
Mopeds, yeah.
They had a pedal and they had an engine, and they were licensed under the same act of the motorbike.
Right.
So the superintendent is right. You don't have to modify anything. You have the laws. You just have to put out the notice of your intention and then move forward. So the soup is right in that aspect. So I'm listening. Have a good day, Soup.
Thank you. Yes, and I was making the point that we have to take in consideration the risk involved in having these vehicles on the road. What if there's an accident? They can cause damage to other people's property. How does a person get compensated for the damage? Because most of the times these vehicles are ridden by juveniles. Person 16 years, 17 years, 15 years.
Of course.
Old. Who would compensate?
These are important questions to be asked if you were to make an accommodation.
Yeah, exactly. You will need to be required to have insurance because any motor vehicle on the road is required by law to have insurance.
So as the law stands now, Superintendent, I know you also want to give a word of caution to those persons who are operating those bikes.
Well, yeah. So, but I'm trying first to show the danger involved
Yes.
in using it,
Mhm.
both to yourselves, those persons who are using them, because there's no you don't have any protection. They're barefooted,
Mhm.
short pants, no helmet, no type of protection at all. And so if you fall, you'll be either hitting another vehicle
Mhm.
or hitting the ground.
Yes.
And you run the risk of being severely injured. Then you have now to go to the hospital, ambulance might have to come and get you, the police have to come and investigate. So you tap a number of state resources. The police investigating, the ambulance coming for you, and the emergency room activating to treat you. So you tap state resources to treat you for something that was preventable in the first place. So we are trying now to prevent that from happening. And so we are making an appeal, as I said earlier, a lot of the persons who are using these vehicles are juveniles,
Mhm.
under 18 years old, and so they have parents who would
Mhm.
have to face this liability, and so we are appealing to the parents to really control what your children do and keep them away from using these vehicles on public roads.
Yeah. Because they not only pose a danger to others, but they also pose a danger to themselves.
And to their parents' pockets.
Yes.
Because if one of them run into your expensive Jeep and dead the door, you're going to say, my Jeep is brand new, I want a new door. I don't want anybody filling my door.
Mhm.
And so the parent now have to go and buy that door.
Yeah. And of course, we have traffic regulations that should be adhered to.
Right.
And we have authorized drivers.
Right. They must have license.
Yeah, they must have license. And if you're going to operate as if you're driving a motor vehicle, you must have
a license.
You must have a license. And
That's
so
the other thing.
these are a lot of questions. These are a lot of these are the things that they
must be answered first.
Yeah.
Before.
And I think as a teenager, when they have these makeshift bikes, they're not looking at all the ramifications, all the considerations. They're not looking at the situation in a whole. They're just thinking, oh, you're going fast. It's going zoom. We need to just go fast. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, when I said accommodation is not to change anything to suit them, but to ensure that some regulations are in place to ensure that there are some guidelines.
The regulation is already in place.
Yeah.
So we want them to come up to the standard of the regulation.
And of course, accommodations need not be made either. Yeah.
Not low. We don't want to lower the standard to meet them at their level. We want to bring them up to the level of the standard that we have, because these standards were designed to protect the public.
Yes.
And to protect the user himself. And so we want to bring you up to that standard where you have some protection.
Of course.
In case there's an accident, you have insurance to take care of the fallout from that accident. You have a helmet, so it minimizes the injuries that you may sustain if an accident. And so we don't want to.
And of course, accommodation does not mean to lower the standard. It does not mean to lower the standard. It means just, in my mind, to ensure that there are guidelines to a specific thing.
Okay, for that specific class of vehicle.
Yeah, for that specific class.
Right.
Yeah. But it need not be done if lawmakers think that it's not necessary.
Right.
It's just a discussion.
There's a standard already.
Yes.
Meet the standard that is
it's just a debate,
Yeah.
Should we accommodate that specific class, or should we leave it as it is?
9:33, we're over time.
All right, well, Azard.
Yes, Cromwell, yes.
It's a
very interesting topic, and I think it's a teaser for those persons who have listened. Of course, we could invite you back and we could have a more in-depth discussion as it relates to it.
I would really like to have feedback, because I'm seeing some posts on Facebook, some for the bikes and some against us restricting them. And so I think we need to engage the public in that type of calling, where they would call and give us their views, and we have a debate as to whether or not there's merit to the view of accommodating them, or there's merit to restricting them in the interest of safety.
Yes, and in fact, I think that should be a very wholesome discussion where we invite persons from different parties. But Superintendent Cromwell, we have another guest, and I do want to thank you for coming on this morning and sharing with us what you have shared. I want to say that it's a fruitful discussion, and we're having a very pleasant morning this morning. I want to
busy morning.
Yes, I want to say to you, have a pleasant day as your day continues.
Thank you, and thank you to your listeners.
No problem.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Hey kids, drink healthy!
Reduce sugar chubby with the same great taste. Lots of magic fruity flavors, drink the more healthy way. It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby, yummy. 25% less sugar chubby. Be active, be healthy, drink lots of chubby. Kicking football, playing cricket, having fun in the sun. It's chubby. Reduced sugar chubby keeps you cool and refreshed. It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby, yummy. 25% less sugar chubby. Jumping rope, running races, have fun. It tastes so yummy, chubby.
Drink the more healthy way.
Licia's. Lightly salted, tasty, and oh so fresh.
Alicia's multigrain, crispy, full of flavor, and so guilt-free.
Licious, buttery blend, golden brown, melts in your mouth, and of course, you just want more.
Things that make you go, Licious, the new snack cracker from Wabisco. Buttery blend, multigrain, or lightly salted. Ready to snack straight from the pack. Try them today.
St. Kitts and Nevis listens to
Win FM 98.9.
Win FM 98.9.
Good morning again. I am your host, Azard Gumbs, and with me this morning we have Jamster, and also we have another guest. We were just speaking with Superintendent Cromwell. We had a discussion about the makeshift bikes, so to speak, and the licensing and the lack of licensing provisions and the like. Just a discussion, because there are persons who are for some accommodation. There's some persons who say, there should be no accommodation and or creation of a new class of vehicles. So, it's a fruitful discussion. I think that is something that we should engage at a different time in future discussions with different stakeholders. Persons who operate, persons who, I think that could lend itself to a very fruitful discussion. So we have in studio with me here this morning, we have Miss Shajine Gumbs. She is the General Manager of Dreamy Decor. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm not too bad. The day is fast and it's going, and I love how we are going already. And we have with you this morning to speak about Dreamy Decor.
Yes.
We understand that recently you guys would have decorated for the Prime Minister's Gala. And so could you tell listeners about Dreamy Decor?
Definitely.
Could you tell listeners about yourself?
Okay, so for everyone out there, my name is Shajine Gumbs. I'm the General Manager for the Dreamy Group. What the Dreamy Group is, we are a decor company. We also deal with rental items, decor rentals. We also deal with decor rentals. Additionally, we do florals. So we're your one-stop shop when it comes to events. So when it came to the Prime Minister's Gala, we were the decor company that they utilized, and it was a surreal experience. We had a team of young, energetic persons who were just so happy to be a part of the beauty while creating the decorations for the gala. And what we envisioned was, at every step of the way, we wanted a photo opportunity. So when you're coming up the stairs, you had the red carpet, you could have taken a photo there. Before you entered, we had our upside down squares with an actual live cutout of the Prime Minister, Dr. Honorable Terence Drew. And then when you entered, you also would have seen the balloons, the beautiful gold balloons in the ceiling. We had, by the piano, we had another floral piece, which was adorned with roses. And then we had a backdrop, the primary backdrop that was for the gala. So it was was truly beautiful. I'm sure you would have heard persons speaking about the decor from the gala.
And there were pictures circulated as well, depicting the gala and the decorations.
Yes, and for that, we would have collaborated with some local vendors. So we would have collaborated with Ariana Event Rentals, Oomph Rentals, Values Tent Rentals, and our very own St. Kitts Nevis Event Rentals. So everything, most of the pieces that were used at the gala, if you want to do a DIY, you can actually do that. For instance, if you want to rent the squares, you can do that. If you want to rent the chair covers, the tablecloth, the napkins, the vases, everything is on our rental site. That's dreamyrentalskn.com. In case you want to do a DIY, we encourage that.
So the experience, you say that you had various persons in assisting Dreamy.
Yes.
So for you as the general manager, was it the first time that you had an event this large since you've been at Dreamy?
As it relates to decorations, you can say that, yes. If we're not including weddings, yes, that was very large scale.
Okay. And what are some of the things we recognize that February is approaching, and WINNFM wants to do a series when it comes to, our morning program would be focusing on love, we'll be focusing on, relationships. And so what is it can we expect from Dreamy Decor? What is it that you guys are doing in terms of accommodating persons who celebrate Valentine's Day?
So for Valentine's Day, our Valentine's specials are actually available right now. You can go online at stkittsnevisflorist.com/Valentines and you'll see all of our specials. And the actual image that you see is what you're going to get. So for instance, you can get something for as low as $20 for a carnation presentation style. And we even go right up to $390 where you can get our rose spiral. And these are our classics. You get the rose spiral or simple surprise. And we also have the simple surprise comprised of carnations and Ferrero Rocher, because Ferrero Rocher is a very popular chocolate when it comes to Valentine's Day. And then we also have our 3 rows and 12 rows in a vase. So when it comes to Valentine's Day, we try to be for everyone. So if you don't want to be over the top, you can get your carnations. If you want to go over the top, even if you want, let's say, 500 roses, we can do that for you. So we tend to cater to any and everybody.
So so you've spoken about some of the items, the giveaways. Is there going to be any, let's say, you're marketing, so what are some of the plans in terms of how would giveaways be done?
So right now we're actually going to have a giveaway on WINNFM, but that's going to be for our rental division, St. Kitts Nevis Event Rentals, where we're going to give away $50 voucher for our rental items. So anyone who calls in, they could ask a question, or even you could say how you want the winner to be announced. But that's what we're going to give away today. Additionally, we want to just encourage everyone to please place your order in advance. We know sometimes we may not know what we want, but again, our items are available right now. You can browse, because we want to ensure that everyone is well taken care of. And trust me, for Valentine's Day, the stocks, they just go like that.
So you're encouraging persons to know what they want, or even have an idea and to call in. And you have given us the opportunity to know what Dreamy is doing for that day.
So for those of you listening out there, again, the website is stkittsnevisflorist.com/Valentines. You can even go on our social media, which is for Facebook, it's the Dreamy Group. And for Instagram, it's the_Dreamy_group. And everything is right there. We even have a highlight to showcase all of our items.
And of course, the giveaway, we thank you for the opportunity to give away something. It won't be today, but it'll be a time during which we are having our focus on love leading up to that time. Of course, we're going to have different persons come in and they're going to be speaking. We want to create an atmosphere where it would foster and encourage persons to want to indulge in activities. Jamsa, you have anything that you want to ask? Anything you want to say? Okay, so we have numerous things coming from Dreamy Decor.
And that's not the only one, I have one more that I just like to touch base on, because at Dreamy we wanted to spice Valentine's up this year. So for the spicing it up, we have what we call the Love at Mariposa. So just imagine yourself being basked in the pool, in a pool filled with 500 freshly plucked rose petals. 500. This value is approximately $12,500.
Yes.
So you get the opportunity to have a photo shoot at Mariposa, where you will be in a pool which is approximately about 2 feet.
Could you some persons might not know where that location is.
So Mariposa is located in Half Moon Frigate Bay, above the car resort. So it's up the road from the car resort. And even if you're a bit unaware, you can always call us and we'll be more than happy to give more directions. Persons will receive 3 digital images that capture the candlelit poolside experience or golden sunrise morning experience, because we're having these sessions from 5:30 a.m. in the morning to 7:30 a.m. or even in the evenings from about 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So if you're not a morning person, you can catch us in the evening sessions, and these spots are limited for only $450 EC. And we have renowned photographers such as Cleon Bradshaw of C. James Photography, Tina Papis of Scene Kits, and Daryl Grant of Daryl Grant Photography. So we have a package worth over $12,000, because photographers, we charge roughly about $200, $250 for photos, but we're only giving you for just $450. You get a steal of a deal at Dreamy.
Yes. And so and you're saying the highlight is the 500 plucked rose
freshly
petals,
plucked rose petals that will fill the pool. So you're literally basking in 500 rose petals. And we're also going to have, again, candlelit. So if you want to do it in the evening, we'll have the candles around the pool, and it's going to just be something that's absolutely beautiful.
And those persons celebrating, love and relationships, they come, they have their photos, they feel as though, they feel intrigued. So and it's a photo shoot, and it's a photo shoot with rose petals in the pool. So I guess they have in their minds how they're going to dress, how they're going to coordinate.
Exactly. And we encourage everyone to come already dressed, come prepared, because these sessions are 15 to 20 minutes, and to be on time, because you can lose your spot if you're late.
Yes.
Because this is limited spots available. We start on February the 3rd, and we want to ensure that everyone gets their true experience. Because trust me, if you look on our Instagram page at the _Dreamy_group, you'll recognize that our promotion for that has even gone out. And when you look at the images, trust me, you would want to be a part of it. To be very honest. I'm actually thinking about doing it. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'm thinking about the pool, the roses, the sunset, the candles. It in my mind, it pictures a very beautiful scenery, very tranquil, and those persons celebrating. I could see where you could have photos, and social media is something that is a buzz.
I encourage everybody to upgrade their gram, update it with Love at Mariposa. And you can call us if you have any more questions. We're available at 466-9418 or 766-9189. And again, you can see this on our Instagram page, the Dreamy Group. And for any other item that I would have mentioned this morning, For any florals, you can get it at St. Kitts Nevis Florist. For rentals, you can get it at St. Kitts Nevis Event Rentals. And we also do weddings. So that is Dreamy Weddings. And sometimes persons may even wonder how I don't have an idea of what I want. Can you do a proposal for me? We do proposals for persons. And the turnaround time is approximately 2 weeks.
Yes.
For a turnaround time, we sit down with you, you tell us what you want, and then we create that magic for you. Similar to what was done for the Prime Minister's Gala.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. We are winding down. So, there are giveaways. Dreamy Decor is doing a lot. It's Valentine's Day is a celebration of love between persons, and it's a celebration that many persons they take part in, and of course it's an opportunity for you to treat your loved one special, and it's an opportunity for you to celebrate love in all its entirety. And so I want to thank you for being here with us this morning. Any final words that you want to give?
So I'll just like to encourage everyone once again to order in advance. Try not to wait until the last minute and to just place your order. You can contact us at 466-9418 or 766-9189. We're located at the Koi building on Airport Road. So that's when you're going to the airport, we're on your left in the Koi building. You can't miss it. It has Koi on it.
Yes.
So we just want to encourage everyone to browse our website at stkittsnevisflorist.com/Valentines and give us a call. Our flyers out there on our social media page at the Dreamy Group. You can get us on Instagram, and if you're not on Instagram, we're also on Facebook. So just give us a call. We are here to cater to all your Valentine's needs, whether you want an arrangement or whether you want to experience love at Mariposa.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shajana. Thank you on behalf of Win FM. We extend thanks for joining us here this morning, and we do hope that you have a pleasant day if you're having it, and we hope that you continue to have a pleasant day. You understand?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have about 10 minutes left. I mean, we've had a very packed session here this morning. We spoke about a number of things. We made some highlights locally, regionally, and even internationally. If I'm going to do a wrap-up, remember we looked at the traffic report for the 2022 year. We looked also at the fact that the NIA is still to appoint leader of the opposition and a senator. So we also look at the regional news. We talk about Antigua and Barbuda. We talk about a number of things. And internationally, we talk about what has happened. The officers being, there's pressure to be charged for the incident that has occurred in America. We talk about reparations with the chairperson of the Reparations Committee, Carl Astafan. We talk about these makeshift fights with Officer Cromwell. And now we have Shajana Gumbs here talking about Dreamy Decor and what they have for Valentine's. It has been a wonderful morning here with you. I trust that you continue to listen to Win FM, that you continue to listen to our morning program. You continue to be in tune and locked. Tomorrow I would be here for a short time, and then we'll have Sharon and Jamster continue the conversation. So I want to thank all of you for listening and have a pleasant day here from Win FM. We have customs coming up at 10 a.m. So stay tuned, stay locked here on Win FM.
Found the sound. 98.9 Win FM.
Hey kids, drink healthy!
Reduce sugar chubby with the same great taste. Lots of magic fruity flavors, drink the more healthy way.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Be active, be healthy, drink lots of chubby. Kicking football, playing cricket, having fun in the sun.
It's chubby.
Reduced sugar chubby keeps you cool and refreshed.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Jumping rope, running races, have fun.
It tastes so yummy, chubby.
Drink the more healthy way!
I'ma break you off, let me be your motivation to stay and give it tonight. Baby, turn around, let me give you innovation. Yeah, 'cause I know it's alright.